How's it going? This is Sherrod Seward, managing member of Sherrod Sports Visas. If you don't know, we do a lot of boxing visas, maybe the most visas of any immigration lawyers in the nation. And what I'm doing with this video is addressing a lot of the calls that we've been getting, a lot of calls about promoters and managers, trainers, worried about how and if they can get athletes into the United States, and if so, how long does it take? Right now, that's a complicated question, and that's why I'm making this kind of more lengthy video than what I usually do. So usually how it goes is we get a visa approved, no problem. You go to get an interview, no problem, and then you come and get on the airplane with your visa stamped. But right now, each one of these steps are more difficult than it's ever been. So, can we get visas approved? Yes, we can. We can get visas approved for boxers for both, and other combat sports athletes for both P-1 and O-1 visas. There's nothing stopping those visas from being adjudicated. Now, the adjudicating officers are doing some tricky things. For example, they tend to be losing a lot of mail lately, and they're also sending a request for evidence on every single premium processing case. And I think it's because they don't have the staff or the personnel to really look at these cases within the 15 days that they're supposed to look at them. Therefore, they issue RFEs. A lot of them are ridiculous. But once you respond to those, you usually can get your visa approval. And then we go into some of the more complicated issues now that didn't used to be issues. So there's 3 steps to getting an athlete here or a coach here in the United States. 1 is to get their visa approved. 2 is for them to get an interview, do well on that interview, get their passport stamped. And then 3 is what we call admission, is when they come to a consular post, usually to a port of entry, which is usually an airport, to come to the United States. So we already talked about the first one, and I'm including a write-up with some of the issues that we're seeing with getting visas approved. Now we're on step 2, getting a visa appointment. Right now, most consular offices around the world are they're not operating as usual. A lot of them are completely closed. Some of them are they have appointments available, but these appointments are months in advance, 3 to 4 months from now. And then 3, you have some that are only doing emergency appointments, okay? So also what I'm including with this video is some step-by-step guides to see how your personal consular office is going. And one thing that you want to do is just get an interview, even if it's months in advance, because once you have an interview set, that's when we can do things such as expedite the interview with a congressional inquiry or by making a national interest waiver argument, and some other things that we can do to try to speed that appointment up. But a lot of these consular offices are not entertaining items of changing or doing anything with appointments until you at least get one. And if they don't have them only for emergency arguments, then you can either try to use the sports national interest exemption, but there's some issues with that, or you can try to use a business travel exemption. Now, a few weeks ago, we were having success getting emergency interviews using the sports exemption proclamation. Right now, as you know, there's a ban on certain countries from coming to the United States based on the COVID-19 exposure. There is an exemption that's meant for professional athletes. Now, this exemption mentions specific leagues, but in past weeks, we're able to use this as an example, as an argument to get interviews and get individual athletes into the country. But now, a lot of these consulates are starting to say we only honor this sports exemption if the sports league or organization promotion that has invited the athlete is on a special list at the White House. Right now, there's only a few organizations that are on this list, such as the UFC is on it, and the NBA, the NHL, and some of these larger leagues that can issue what's called 212 F waivers. Basically, they can send an email with a name and itinerary to Customs and Border Patrol, who are supposed to then disseminate that list through their consular posts and the ports of entry so that people know who's on that list and who's not, and they get preferential treatment for coming into the United States. That means if your organization that invited you is not on that list, then you're going to have some problems trying to use the sports exemption to come into the country. So what we're doing, or what we tried recently, is to argue that combat sports athletes are coming on business travel, saying that, hey, we're not employers, we're independent contractors, we're coming on business to compete on this bout. This bout is going to make a lot of money for the area and boost the morale of the United States by having this high-level competition. Some consular offices will listen to this argument, some will not. Okay. And the other thing that we're doing is we're trying to get the word out to promoters in the United States that we can help them apply to be listed on this exemption list with the Department of State. And if the promoter is on this list, then they can just directly contact Customs and Border Patrol to get their athletes on this list, and they have a better chance at getting expedited interviews. And they also will have a much, much better chance getting into the United States from COVID travel restricted countries, which I'll also provide a list of those countries on the write-up for this post as well. So now if you're able to get the interview and get your passport stamped, now comes the third part, which is obtaining admission, entry into the United States at one of the border posts, which is usually the airport. So when you get to the airport, now this third step is not for everybody. So for example, if you're in Australia, you won't have a problem with this. This is only a step that's necessary for persons that have been in one of these COVID affected countries during the past 14 days. So it doesn't matter if you're Italian or if you're Norwegian or anything like that. It just matters if your physical body has been in these countries during the past 14 days. And so there's two options. One, the most cumbersome and expensive option is to just go to a country that's not on this list for 14 days and then come into the United States. For example, a lot of promoters are interested in having athletes maybe go to Canada, stay there for 14 days, and then get on an airport. Don't drive over, get in an airport and fly into the United States. Okay? Now, the other way that you can look at it is if you're able to get the sports exemption, but we need more promoters to sign up to apply for the sports exemption list with the Department of State so that they can issue these 212F waivers to allow athletes to come in. Like I said, right now, there's not a lot of organizations on there. They're usually just the big leagues, but we were fortunate to talk to our state senator and get a pathway that we can also apply for other sports organizations to get on this list so that we can have a smoother process of getting interviews and entry into the United States for the world's best athletes. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call or shoot us an email. We're very responsive. But yes, you can get athletes into the United States right now. It's just more difficult than it's ever been. So you have a great one, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a great day.